It's still the All-Star break, but I've got a hot take that I think Twins fans will enjoy, at least the ones who enjoy when the team wins. I think that this Twins team is going to end the 2024 season as the best team in the American League. Let's talk about it. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren. You can unfollow me on Twitter at Brandon_WARNE. I've been watching the Twins for 30 years, covering them for about half that long, and I hope you enjoyed the ride with us. Joining me on that ride is Mr. Dave Brown at Answer Dave Brown on the tweets. What's up?
Hi, Brandon. I've been watching the Twins for, a while, but mostly from afar. I've been in the Baseball Writers Association since 2012, and I've been a baseball writer since 1998 or so. And those are my papers.
Yeah, he's got credentials, and he's not afraid to use them more ways than one, I suppose you could say. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And, of course, as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, we're your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. Also, if you're listening to us or actually watching us on the YouTube, feel free to give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Give us a shout, especially if you're watching on the live broadcast. And I think Dave will give you a virtual thumbs up with his bionic thumb, it appears.
Yeah, I've got some ligament issues that I am addressing in due time.
Would you give ligament issues a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
When I give a thumbs up and I don't have a brace on, the thumb pops out of the joint. So I'm not going to do that.
That doesn't sound great. Yeah, I botched up my pinky playing shortstop last week in softball, and it's still bad. So there's probably something more going on there. But
you guys don't play that Chicago style of softball, right? With the big ball and the no glove. You play with a glove, right?
Yeah. Oh, you never know based on my defense. But yeah, I do have a glove on. By the way, you can catch every pitch of the Twins hometown broadcast with Chris and Danny on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app, search Twins. Up next, Twins have Pablo Lopez against the Brewers and Freddie Peralta. By the way, and the Atlantic greatly regrets this error, they're going to be at Target Field. It's not going to be at AmFam in Milwaukee. So
are you referring to a mistake that you made in a previous show?
Yes.
So do you think people took that to heart and then did some Booking.coms and then went to the wrong place?
Yeah, that Booking.yeah, they might have. So just making sure, and like I said, the Atlantic regrets this error, and if you don't understand that joke, that is perfectly fine.
It's one of the many places that you've worked.
Or not. It was so funny, though, that somebody wanted to send my information to them. So, nevertheless, quick two-gamer. It's going to be, I believe, MLB rivalry weekend, so it'll be Pablo and Peralta, Joe Ryan, and Aaron Savali. But we're here to talk about today my blazing red hot take that I think this Twins team, which has played, I don't know if it's exactly the number one pace in the American League since their 7-20 start, but I know it's very close. That they're going to continue that into the second half and be the number one seed heading into the playoffs. I think they're going to turn it around. They're not only going to catch the Guardians.
The number one seed.
Well, I think they'll be the best team in the AL.
The best team in the AL, but also the number one seed. How many games do they have to make up for that?
Well, I see 93 projected wins for the Yankees and Orioles on Fangraphs. Twins are 89. So I think the Twins could play at a better than 4 games pace than those teams. And again, this is me going out on a ledge. Maybe number one seed is a bit hasty, but I think the Twins will be the best team going into the playoffs based on a number of factors that I want to discuss today. So maybe the Orioles win 95 games and the Twins win 94. But if you're looking at those teams and the Twins look better. I'm going to take the victory on that. I'm going to take the victory lap, and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
I would be surprised. Now, your greater point about how the Twins will be playing and maybe who's left standing at the end, maybe we can find some agreement there. I would be pretty surprised if the Orioles do not win 100 games.
Right.
I think they're a little above that pace right now. They're maybe about 100 and 101, something like that, win pace. So it wouldn't take too much, but I think 90 or 99.63 is, I want to say 611. So, and I think they're at 604. So maybe they're a little behind that, but I think they'll get hot. But anyway, you need to defend your point a little bit.
Okay, so catching the Guardians for me is the obvious, like the thing they're going to have to do before they can set their sights on anything else. They come into the second half 4.5 games out, if I have my math correct, which is never a foregone conclusion, but Fangraphs has them finishing 91-71 Twins, 89-73. A 2-game flip between now and the end of the season is nothing. So, it's not unfathomable. But when I look at the biggest disqualifier for me, as I flip over my sheet for the Guardians, I don't believe in the offense. And I'll tell you why. Just, you can talk about exit velocities, you can talk about line drive rates, but David Fry was absolutely blistering hot when they were at their best. He's no longer that. I think Jose Ramirez is still a stud. Don't get me wrong. But they just have too many guys who just don't cut it for me. And I don't know that I necessarily see them going out and getting, like, this is just a comparison sake. It's obviously that they're not going to get him, but like this year's version of Teoscar Hernandez would really fit well with what the Guardians need. Now, who is that? I don't know.
They've been reticent over the years to add very much. They did the Savali trade last year.
Right. And Josh Donaldson, they rented one year, and that was like, he was so badly screwed up with his calves that, who knows. And they had Jason Kubel to end one of their division title years. But yeah,
I don't even remember all that. Maybe there's good reason why they don't add anybody, because they're not very good at it. But okay, I got one thing for you. The Guardians, we could deconstruct them from top to bottom. I got a number though. I got a stat. Mm-hmm. That stat is 0-5. What do you think 0-5 means to the Twins and the Guardians?
The Twins haven't beaten them yet. The reason I know that is because every other Joe Schmo from Cleveland with Deshaun Watson,
do they bring it up
in their profile pick? Yeah, it's the new 0-18.
I remember that. I was at the first win that year. That's good. But
so I get it, but at the same time too, like you and me a week ago, we're not the same people we were then. The Twins were not playing well. The Guardians were. David Fry was superhuman, and now he's just human. You're right, though. I mean, and those 5 games, if you even can split them 2 and 3, that makes this division lead literally as thin as it can be. Now, again, it's an easy what if that anybody can play that game, but it's not as though the Twins have sent Tyler Thornburg out there, or Jarrell Cotton out there, like they were a couple of years ago when the Guardians straight up pantsed them on the national scene, and the season ended just ceremoniously bad. That's definitely something I remember, but I don't feel the same about this year's team. I know they're 0-5, but I just think that version of the Twins and the version they are today are distinctly different.
That's true. I think that's sort of the one thing, though, that is definitely going to have to change for your 2-part dream to happen. 1, surpassing the Guardians, and 2, the Twins somehow getting the best record in the league, or at least, if not having the best record in the league, being in a position to win the playoffs, the
pennant.
The pennant, yes. So, and we are in agreement that it is possible. Now, I picked the Twins to win 98 games in the regular season. I don't know if that's going to happen. or not. I've been kind of doubting it after a while. I think during
You'd have to do like the Moneyball A's second half where
right,
you win like 48 games after the break or whatever it
or
is.
maybe have some kind of Guardians like the Guardians did in the first half. Have the Twins do that in the second half. So I guess it's possible. The Twins have a deep enough lineup to do that. They have a deep enough bullpen to do it. I'm not sure if starting pitching will get hot enough, but I guess it could. Lopez could. Joe Ryan could go on a tear. Bailey Ober certainly can string, if not shutouts together, something like that. 6 innings, 7 innings, 1 run. I can see him going on a nice run. Simeon Woods Richardson has come along nicely. I don't know about confidence in him in the playoffs necessarily, starting a playoff game. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying I don't know how, if I were betting on them, I don't know that I would if he were doing it. But, I think they I don't know if you're going to be able to persuade me in this episode, but I'll go with it.
I'll be your Huckleberry. Yeah, there's still some time left for me to do that, and I'm going to do just that. When we come back, I do want to break down why I don't believe in Cleveland beyond their offense. We'll talk about the Twins' depth, and then I want to look at some of the other teams that are projected to finish at or above the Twins in the AL standings at large. But again, first, quick pause. Passion, drive, and patience are the formula for winning championships and also what keep your ride alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Whether you want a supercharger, roof rack, exhaust kit, LED headlights, and much, much more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part, not your pit, oh boy, is guaranteed to fit, there we go, your ride every time, or you get your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. And then we got to show some love to GameTime. Download that GameTime app. It's your ticketing marketplace, and it has everything you need for whether it's concerts, ball games, shows, you name it, they've got it. So whatever you like to go to in the summer, MLB games obviously at the forefront of Dave and Mai's attention, but I'm also going to see Metallica in August, and that is a great opportunity to try find tickets that are going to be a pretty tough sell, or rather a tough buy here in the next month or so. So I would recommend downloading GameTime, downloading the app. You can get flash deals, which is exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the GameTime or event. All in pricing too. If you turn that on, it will tell you what you're paying up front, as opposed to some of those other sites who bait and switch you into paying an extra $20 on the other end. You get the lowest price guarantee. GameTime will pay 110% of the difference if you find the ticket someplace else more cheaply. And the seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. You know exactly what you're going to be looking at. Maybe not necessarily if you're going to be sitting behind someone with a big head like me, but these are the risks you assume when you buy the tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Dave, the other thing that I don't like about the Guardians is their starting pitching. And as much as Tanner Bybee has been pretty good, although if you look at his fastball numbers, his fastball is getting absolutely pasted. I just don't know who you lean on in that rotation. Carlos Carrasco has looked several shades of cooked at points this season. Tristan McKenzie just doesn't seem to have it right now. Bybee's fastball is getting peppered. Gavin Williams is interesting, but at the same time, he's missed much of the season, and he's a prospect. You're a suspect until you're a prospect, and so who knows what they're going to get from him. The numbers, though: 25th in starter ERA, 4.52. 25th in starter WHIP, 1.34. 27th in starter OPS against, 7.87. I just do not see an offense that can overcome that. Now, I have been watching old Twins games on YouTube, and I watched a 2001 game that was actually Twins and Cleveland. Twins won that game 11-10, but I see a lot of those young Twins, 2001, 2002, 2003, in these Guardians. Those Twins relied on Brad Radke, Joe Mays, Eric Milton. Not really any of those guys standouts. Radke was good, but certainly not like a Hall of Famer. They had a really good bullpen, whether it was Eddie Guardado, LaTroy Hawkins, Joe Nathan after them. And their offense just kind of made it happen. You didn't really understand why, but it did. I think that could be the Guardians right now, but those Twins didn't win anything either. So what I'm saying is I can still think the Guardians are a good team, a fun team, but I also don't have to buy into them as legitimate. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Boy, I think you hit on it. I think maybe we could look a little closer into what has to happen on the Twins side, like maybe individuals having career seasons, if it's Royce Lewis just being healthy and going nuts, something like that. Usually teams that get on a big roll have at least a couple of players that do that. So beyond their depth of offense, maybe a couple of special second halves. But if you look at that Guardians pitching, which has usually been their calling card, that's how they've stayed in games. It's really short. I mean, Tanner Bybee looks solid. I like Tanner Bybee. But that's it. I don't expect Ben Lively to have another second half where he's 3.58 ERA. Logan Allen, whichever one it is, 5.67 ERA. Cookie, you said Carlos Carrasco might be cooked. Well, his nickname's Cookie, and he might be cookied. 5 ERA. Tristan McKenzie isn't throwing as hard as he used to, gives up too many home runs. And they don't have, and Gavin Williams looks pretty good. To me, that's like 2 starters, like 2.5. And that's not going to cut it. And they have a solid bullpen. Better than solid. It's really good.
Class A's nasty.
Class A's very good. Hunter Gaddis,
who's from Minnesota.
Hunter Gaddis and Kate Smith, terrific setup men. Scott Barlow and Tim Herron, very solid. Even guys like Nick Sandlin are good at the back end of the bullpen. Their bullpen might be deeper than the Twins overall. I don't know. Maybe it's about the same.
Yeah.
But they don't have the horses. They don't have the starting pitching. The bullpen is going to get overworked because the starters aren't going to be going enough quality innings. Either they're not going to go enough innings or they're not going to go enough quality innings, and they're not going to stay in the game that way. I don't see Stephen Kwan having another second half like this. David Fry is going to cool off. Josh Naylor's already cooled off. Jose Ramirez will probably get hot, but they don't have a deep lineup. The team hasn't believed in outfielders in a decade. And they need to add a couple of, they need to add at least one outfielder, if not 2, which is something we say about the Guardians every season.
Yeah.
It's funny to sound pessimistic about a team that's had such a good first half, but I don't believe in them at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they are 10 games worse, 10 games under 500 in the second half. Seriously.
Is there anything worse than cold fries? True.
I mean, if they're like Five Guys fries are really good. If you're, let's just say if you had enough to drink and your senses are dulled, then maybe it'll work. But,
or if you have an air fryer, you can salvage them.
I don't know. I'm afraid of those. I don't know what an air fryer does. I don't like it. You don't fry things in the air. You fry them with grease, and it just bothers me, and I don't want to go near it.
Okay, well, suit yourself, I guess. When I look at this Twins team, I do see a team that needs a starter, and I think that they're going to do that. And the news that came through today from Dan Hayes is that they're looking more on the rental market, which, I don't think is terribly surprising given their financial questions about broadcasting moving past this season. Not that I think that that's going to be a huge deal one way or the other to where, they're not going to go trade for Tariq Skubal. That wasn't going to happen. But the offense can swarm you with 13 guys that are all league average or better hitters. The pitching staff, the rotation is short, but the bullpen, they've got some options. And now that's not to say that they would move Louis Varland into the bullpen before the last week of September to prepare him for the playoffs. So you can't really count on him as that boost to get the Twins where you think they might go with him the rest of the way, which is kind of, I guess, my entire theory of the show. However, I just think they can overwhelm you with depth on the hitting and pitching side, relief pitching. And I think you got to trade for someone. And the name I keep coming back to, and I wish I would have said it earlier because I had it before now. A lot of people are talking about him. Yusei Kikuchi from the Blue Jays. Lefty.
Did I say that? Oh, I see what you're saying. His name's Yusei, yes.
A lot of people now are writing it or saying it or podcasting it. And I had that name quite a while ago. And again, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back because I'm not sure I can reach. But Kikuchi, lefty, throws hard. He gives the Twins an element of what they don't already have. He'd be a rental. He probably wouldn't be an insanely high-priced rental because of, he's been good, but not amazing. I don't know. I mean, someone like him, I know I say Paul Blackburn. I don't know if he's even close to healthy. But the issue comes back to how do you get someone who may or may be in the conversation to start a playoff game for you? And where is that break-even point where you're like, I'd rather just stick with Paddock and not trade anything if this is what we're going to do?
I think Kikuchi is over that line as far as you definitely go with him as a starter in a playoff game. I don't think there's any question about that at this point. He's not that's not a sexy name, and it's not, but he might be a better pitcher than Justin Verlander at this point, and maybe a better bet than Max Scherzer. You might want to,
especially for the money.
Yeah, right. There's that. I don't know if they're worried still about the long-term finances and where the local TV money is coming from. To me, that makes more sense than to, I don't know if you can get Skubal because it's a division foe, and that kind of complicates things. But a guy who actually you'll have on the team, at least under some sort of cost certainty until he becomes a free agent for a couple years, maybe that makes more sense than going out and getting rid of resources for just a guy who you're going to have for a month or 2 months.
Half an hour. Yeah.
So, so I'm not saying Dan knows more than I do about it, but to me, it would make, if they are worried about long-term bucks, then I think giving up prospects and resources in the minor leagues would make more sense for a guy who you're going to have in the rotation at least through next year. So
quickly,
I'm not sure exactly who that is, but
quickly before we go to break, you could split the difference and go get Eric Fetty.
Yeah, I think Eric Fetty would
top 25 or 30 in Fangraphs WAR last I saw.
It's and sort of like in a different way than like anybody who pitches well at Coors Field or pitches well in the Rockies with Coors Field as a factor, to me, gets my total respect. Anybody who can pitch well on the White Sox with all the CRAP that's going on there gets my respect. You talk about tuning out a whole bunch of noise. That's what Eric Fetty has been doing, just with tunnel vision and concentrating on being the best version of himself this year. So I like that idea a lot.
All right. Well, when we come back after our last break here, I want to kind of just do a quick rundown of the teams that could challenge the Twins for this and what I think will hold them back, or at least could hold them back. But again, first, we have one last final break here. This episode of Locked On Twins is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, as the weather has been, at least around here, it's getting a little warmer. Still not making you sweat too bad. But travel for baseball games, going to the beach, going to the lake, wherever you like to go, exploring U.S. cities that you have always wanted to secretly know more about, even the rival cities, your Detroits and your Chicagos. Milwaukee Twins aren't going there, but it's still a rival city. And again, I regret that mistake. Whether it's hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, all of those different things, Booking.com has you covered, and you just might find your perfect stay, even if it's in a city that you may not like their baseball team. So whether you're looking at hotels that overlook stadiums or you want a family-friendly resort, I know Wisconsin Dells near here is a huge deal at this time of year. Booking.com has so many choices around the United States for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, I don't know if leastly is a word, PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform. 5 million active members and then some every single day. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way for you to play DFS. And you're not playing against all these other guys who are doing their algorithms. All you do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. So again, you're not facing the guys that have algorithms and all that stuff, or they're entering 50 teams in a 100-team contest. You're not needing to nudge anybody else out. You just do more than or less than on those stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. There's multipliers, so you can win up to 100 times your money with as few as 4 correct picks. So that's like turning $10 into 1,000. And even though NBA and NHL are done, WNBA is still going for the time being. At least now we'll have the Olympics here coming up shortly. But whether you like new stars like Caitlin Clark, who has come on like mad lately, or Angel Reese, or Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, Kelsey Plum, any of the established stars in a league full of them, no matter who you like, you could win up to 100 times your money watching those ladies ball out. So PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country. Check out if your state is one of them, and they'd love to have you. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's LOCKEDONMLB in the code spot on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, we're coming down the home stretch here, and Dave, we are looking at the other teams that would be in the way of the Twins. I want to go down the list and say what I don't like about them and then let you do the same. Okay. For Houston, all their starters are hurt. Their bullpen is pretty good, but not unbeatable. And their lineup is shorter than before. Their number 4 and 5 hitters are like just barely over 100 weighted runs created plus. That's Yainer Diaz and John Singleton. Texas, not really in that conversation right now. Dreadful bullpen, 25th in earned run average. Seattle's offense doesn't do anything for me. Number 1 strikeout rate, 28th in runs per game. Last in average, they're slashing 219, 300, 367, which is last, 25th, and 28th, respectively. Yankees, I just don't like their bullpen. I know they have some guys at the back end. Luke Weaver has been a revelation, and Clay Holmes is pretty good, but I don't trust the front end of that bullpen at all. It's just too many guys I don't know anything about. Maybe Scott Efros gets back in there and helps them. And the rotation, it has the names that you'd think would be good, but Marcus Stroman's having a tough year. Carlos Rodon is having a tough year. Luis Gil has to prove that he can continue doing what he's done. And then the Orioles. This one for me is tough because you just kind of think, well, maybe their inexperience down the stretch will show, but this is probably, to me, the toughest team in the AL that the Twins would tangle with, just because of how good and young they are. My main question with them is, who do they have to start for them behind Corbin Burns, excuse me. Patrick Corbin could start for nobody other than Washington. And then Grayson Rodriguez. They've had issues. John Means is back on the shelf. Dean Kramer has not been quite, I think, as good as they had hoped. They've got some options. Cade Povich was up for a minute, the former Twins prospect who was traded for Danny Coulomb, who is now on the 60-day IL. I don't know. The Orioles, to me, seem to be the toughest team standing in their way. They're still battling the Yankees. They're like a game ahead of them, and the Yankees are tough, but just not as tough as they looked early in the season. I don't know. Those are the reasons why I don't think those teams can be as difficult on the Twins as maybe you would expect.
You don't expect the Royals to jump up from behind, make a big trade here at the deadline, and
I do not. They don't have the prospects. I don't either. They don't have the prospects. They traded their number 2 prospect for Hunter Harvey, and their number 2 prospect in the Nationals organization is like number 12.
Right.
And a 30-something overall pick. Like, that trade made no sense to me.
Well, it was, that's what the Royals get for sitting out the offseason for the past 4 years or so, 5 years before this one. So they just had too many holes to fill, and they haven't been getting back. But they still, what they could do is still be a pain in the butt down the stretch. Maybe not. I look at it maybe a little differently. I look at all these teams and I say the Twins are are in really good shape to be maybe the number 2 seed. And I think that's, not, they don't get home field advantage maybe in the last round in the ALCS, but I think that's the best. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, that you can hope for. I see them being better than the Guardians and the Yankees, and staying ahead of the Red Sox and the Royals and the Mariners and Astros and all that. And there'll be some, the Rays will be selling and all that stuff. And
I don't buy the Red Sox either. I don't buy the Red Sox either.
No, I mean, I think they're playing a little bit above their heads. I mean, I like some of the things that they've done, but I don't think they have the depth in the starting pitching either to
right.
To worry. Here's kind of how I look at how things are going to end here in the last few weeks. Are there any really bad road trips where we could see the Twins get tangled up and just go on a bender the wrong way to really screw them up? And I don't see it. They start out at home in the second half at Detroit and at the Mets for 6 games in late July. A quick 3-gamer in Chicago against the Cubs. The Cubs all of a sudden are playing good. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. They play good, they play bad. Who knows? But it's only 3 games.
Right.
The Rangers and the Padres in mid-August for 7 games. Is it 7? Yeah. 4 against Texas and 3 against San Diego. That's probably the worst. And then the Rays, who will be selling, and then the Royals in early September. So I don't see, and I like the Twins at home against anybody, but what they need to do is play better against teams with records over 500. I think they're only 22 and 29, something like that, against teams with 500 records. So it comes down to that. It comes down to 0-5 against the Guardians, 22 and 29 against teams that are over 500. Those are the things that need to be reversed, and your dream can happen with the Twins having the best record in the league.
So we both agree, though, that the Orioles are going to be the toughest nut to crack.
No, I don't think there's any question.
Yeah. Well, that is a wrap for this episode, and I appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We'll be back with another episode before the break with some discussion on trade stuff, because believe it or not, that trade deadline is creeping up on us. I think it's less than 2 weeks away. So we'll have an episode on that. But for Dave Brown, this is Brandon Warren signing off, saying thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been Locked On Twins, and we'll see ya,
Alexei,
tomorrow night.